If, in New York City, a Richter magnitude 15 earthquake struck, the ground beneath your feet suddenly shook, not with the familiar rumble of a passing truck, not with the jolt of an ordinary quake, but with something so powerful that the very fabric of our planet would tremble at its core. What if in New York City, a Richter magnitude 15 earthquake struck? Would the skyline collapse in an instant? Would the oceans rise? Or would the Earth itself simply come apart? After thinking and analyzing for some time, the truth is almost too big to comprehend. To imagine a magnitude 15 earthquake, we first need to understand the scale and why the Richter scale doesn't really have an hand. Most people think of earthquakes as numbers between 3 and 9, a magnitude 3 quake. A tremor you might barely feel while sipping your morning coffee. A magnitude 6. That's enough to rattle buildings, send furniture toppling, and leave cracks in the pavement. A magnitude 9. That's catastrophic. The kind of monster quake that shifts coastlines and tilts the Earth's axis. So naturally we assume 10 is the maximum. But here's the secret. There is no maximum. The Richter scale, more accurately replaced today by the moment magnitude scale, is logarithmic. Each step up isn't just a little worse. It's about 32 times more energy than the step before. That means a magnitude 9 isn't just slightly bigger than a magnitude 8. It's 32 times stronger. Now imagine climbing beyond 10, beyond 12, beyond 15. Each step up is a leap into unimaginable realms of destruction. Let's pause. A magnitude 10 quake would require a fault line more than 3,000 kilometers long. Essentially the size of an entire continent ripping apart in one instant. That's already far beyond anything Earth's crust can realistically produce. A magnitude 11, you'd need a fault stretching halfway around the world. By magnitude 12, the planet is literally breaking on a global scale. But magnitude 15, that's so absurdly powerful that it wouldn't just shift continents or topple skyscrapers. It would unleash enough energy to boil every ocean, evaporate every drop of water on Earth, and leave the surface of our planet unrecognizable. It wouldn't just destroy New York. It wouldn't just destroy America. It would destroy everything. Let's imagine the impossible anyway. One calm morning, the streets of New York bustle with life. Yellow cabs weaving through traffic, subway trains rattling underground, skyscrapers catching the first light of dawn. Then, without warning, the ground tears open. The shaking is not a rumble. It's a roar, a cosmic scream of energy ripping through the crust. The skyscrapers of Manhattan don't topple one by one. They disintegrate instantly, pulverized into dust before they hit the ground. Bridges twist like ribbons. Roads buckle into waves taller than the buildings that once lined them. In an instant, the entire eastern seaboard crumbles. Shockwaves ripple outward at unimaginable speeds, toppling cities thousands of miles away. The oceans boil into steam, creating storm clouds larger than continents. Within minutes, the Earth itself shudders like glass fracturing in slow motion. New York City doesn't experience a magnitude 15 earthquake. It simply ceases to exist. Here's the raw science. A magnitude 9 quake releases about 10-18 joules of energy, enough to shift the Earth's rotation slightly. A magnitude 10 quake would release 10-21 joules. That's about as much energy as a massive asteroid strike. By magnitude 15, we're talking about 1033 joules, for comparison. That's enough energy to rival the gravitational binding energy of the Earth itself. The amount of force holding the planet together. In simpler words, a magnitude 15 quake wouldn't just be the most powerful earthquake in history. It would be the end of the Earth as a planet. The crust would rip apart. The mantle would surge to the surface. The core itself might destabilize. Our world would dissolve into fragments, drifting into space like shattered glass. It's worth noting, Earth can't even produce such a quake. Our planet simply isn't big enough. The largest quakes it can manage top out around magnitude 10, maybe 11 in theory. Magnitude 15 belongs to neutron stars, those dense, collapsed remnants of dead stars where matter is packed so tightly that a teaspoon weighs billions of tons. In those bizarre cosmic furnaces, starquakes can unleash that kind of unimaginable energy. So if you're wondering whether Earth could ever feel a magnitude 15 quake, the answer is no. If it somehow did, the Earth wouldn't be around long enough for anyone to write about it. But let's step back, because talking only about world-ending destruction gets heavy fast. What about the other end of the scale? If magnitude 15 is annihilation, what's a magnitude 0? A Richter 0 is about the same energy as a football team slamming into the side of a garage. Annoying, maybe, but hardly catastrophic. Go lower into the negatives, a cat falling off your dresser. That's magnitude 2. A feather landing softly on the ground, magnitude 7. A single mote of dust settling on your table, magnitude 15. In other words, not all quakes are violent. Some are gentle, nearly imperceptible. The scale spans from world-ending catastrophes to the tiniest, almost poetic events. So what's the takeaway? A magnitude 15 earthquake in New York is a thought experiment, not a possibility. But it forces us to think about the scales of power in our universe. On one end, the tiniest flutter of dust. On the other, the violent cracking of stars. And in between, the fragile balance that makes our planet habitable. When you stand on solid ground, it feels permanent. But zoom out and you realize Earth itself is a trembling, shifting ball of rock floating in space, fragile in ways we rarely consider. Maybe the real question isn't what if a magnitude 15 quake hit New York. Maybe the question is, what do we do with the fragile time we're given on a planet where even the smallest shift can remind us how powerful nature really is? So the next time you feel the faintest tremor beneath your feet, whether it's an actual quake or just a subway train passing underground, remember this: you're standing on a planet that sits on the knife's edge between stability and chaos. And be grateful it's not a magnitude 15.